Still shot it in 15 days, but I mean, but I absolutely love
Wait,
it. Yeah.
You shot Jasmine's Blues in 15?
Yeah.
How? Why? Like, okay, wait a minute. I should have known this like in the beginning of the convo. How did you do it?
But we can't talk about it anymore because we're out of time. Congratulations on Till.
Thank you.
I just want to start off by saying it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. When I saw, first of all, I was just super proud of Danielle Deadwyler, who was playing a drug-addicted, crazy woman on my show, The Have and Have Nots, and to see her in this lead role, not only to hold it, but to hold it with such grace and class and own every second of it. I mean, I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of you for the directing and what you were able to get in this whole story. But as I think about it, because I ran into this with Jazzman, somebody said, "Why do black people have to keep telling these stories? Why are we always going back? Why can't we look forward?" And I have a answer for that, but I'd like to know what yours is.
I would say to that the past is very much intertwined with the present, and we are in a time where this history is actively being erased in schools, in our own lives, like from screens, and so we need to know this history. There are a lot of people that don't know it, and it is very reflective of our present reality.
The lynching of my son has shown me that what happens to any of us, anywhere in the world, had better be the business of us all.
It is all connected to the activism and the work that's being done, the forms of oppression that are being done. We just had a midterm election where a lot of people's votes were disenfranchised, and that's directly tied to something that's explored in the film. So it's all connected.
That's exactly what I felt. Exactly what I felt with Jasmine. And my answer to that is very much the same thing. Yeah. There's an active role in trying to water down, rewrite, homogenize the history of black people in America. And I have a 7-year-old that I do not want to, it's too soon for him to learn that the brutality of the history, but I do not want to get him to grow up in an America where all of that has been washed away. So to have a reference that I can point to, like the story of Till, from Mamie's point of view, which I think is brilliant, I would love for him to see that and understand it. What made you choose her point of view?
Well, without Mamie Till-Mobley, the world wouldn't know who Emmett Till was. And so I've always seen this film about Mamie because she's the heartbeat of the story. She's the foundation, and not a lot of people know about her and her legacy. It's her, the choices she made, the work that she did helped become a catalyst for the modern American civil rights movement. And you know, her journey is one that is so fierce and so layered and complex, and I really just wanted to center a black woman in her rightful place in history. Yeah,
and you did, and did very well. Speaking of black women in the rightful place in history, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes, we both know Whoopi.
He's just going to see his cousins. It's not a bad thing for him to know where he come from.
Well, Chicago is all he needs to know. I don't want him seeing himself the way those people are seen down there.
Those people like me?
She held this project for a long time. I remember her talking about it a long time ago. You know, I want to do Till. So to see it come to life and have her not only be in it, but be a part of it, what was that like for you?
The first time I met Whoopi was 3 years ago when she and the other producers approached me about making this film. And she was the most egoless, real.
EGOT.
Yeah. She was so gracious. And so respectful and kind, and I've never felt that seen as an artist and as a black woman from meeting someone in the industry. I mean, it was one of the best meetings I've ever had, and working with her on set, I mean, she was so eager to be directed, and she received the direction just so well, and she's funny as hell. In between takes, I mean, she's just funny as hell. And then you were on set one day. I pleasantly was surprised. I see this tall man. I was like, who is this?
I came in to support. I just wanted to let you know and her and everybody else know that, you know, anything I could do, I was there 100% to just, you know, Atlanta's a little bit my town, so anything I could do to make it happen. So,
and I wanted to ask you about that too, because so we had our production office at your studio, and it was the first time that I experienced Tyler Perry's studio, which was glorious. I look at you and the legacy that you built and for yourself, and I look at the studio, I look at you as a filmmaker, look at you as a businessman. What do you think, or how do you think the industry has changed and your relationship to the industry has changed since Diary of a Mad Black Woman?
Oh, wow.
We're gonna take it back.
Okay, you went all the way back. Yeah, a lot has changed because when I first started doing film and television, that great Black power moment that happened in the 90s where, you had all these sitcoms on UPN with Black people. You had all of these movies from New Jack City, all these movies, Jason's Lyric and Love Jones, they were all out and it was a great time. Then all of a sudden, nothing. Everything went away. And here comes, this kid from New Orleans with this crazy, kooky movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, this larger than life, over the top character he plays. I mean, it was an interesting time to enter into the world, but I really feel that the success of Diary started to ring bells for other people again. Because what I notice about Hollywood is that what works, they follow. Yeah. So in the 90s, when those movies stopped working or went away, they needed something else to follow. So the success of House of Pain and the success of Diary of a Mad Black Woman and the Medea franchise, I think it started to open up doors for other people of color to tell their stories. However, it also made me a huge target because of the success. Because what I found is that when Black people come to your shows or to your basket, they're looking for their stuff. They're looking for their story. They're looking for their version. If they don't see them, then there's like, what is this? This is not for me. Rather than understanding that just like you as a filmmaker and director have a very clear perspective on the stories you want to tell, I do too. Just because we're Black doesn't mean we have to say the same thing. So coming from there to now, seeing what has changed, people like you getting opportunities that probably wouldn't have happened, 15, 20 years ago when I started, certainly not 30 years ago when I started. And it not seeming like this, oh my God, a Black woman's directing. Now it seems like a Black woman's directing. You know what I mean? So it's been a wonderful journey to watch, and for some, I think I had a small part in having a lot of the change happen because of the successes of showing Hollywood that there was a hunger for our kind of storytelling.
Can we talk more about that? Because one of the reasons I was so excited about talking to you right now is because I see, even though I see a linkage between us. Like, I've always admired how your work, your contributions to this industry has really had an impact on filmmakers like myself to be able to have the opportunities and access that we do. Can you speak more about how your specific path and contributions directly ties to filmmakers like myself coming up right now?
Again, what I found in the industry is simply this. I'll go to this moment real quick, but the death of George Floyd, I think so many of us owe him so much because the tragedy of that made everyone in every industry stop and go, wait a minute, we need to do better, right? This man's losing his life that way and people seeing it in in those few minutes. That moment had everybody going, okay, what can we do and what can we do better? So you couple that moment with watching the success of what I've done. Hear me, you gotta follow me here because this is just gonna sound really strange, but coupling the success of people watching the numbers going, why is this here? Where are these Black people? Where are they? What are they doing? Why do they like this? What do we need to do? And the powers that be in Hollywood going, okay, let's greenlight some more of this. Let's go find some other people. Let's go find some Tyler Perry's. Let's go find this to people to be able to tell their stories as well, right? So there's this look for those people who are coming up, and then this awful tragedy happens, and then there's which adds this gasoline to the whole moment of, wow, we need to do better. Let's open this up so we can give everybody a shot. So I'm not, hear me clearly when I say this, I am not comparing what I've done to the pain and horror of what George Floyd felt, but I'm looking at the connection of all of it, right? There's a line through all of it. It's just like there's a line through history and everything that we've been through. Even the studio that I own being a former Confederate Army base, right? So having someone to, like Oprah was for me and Sydney was for me, if someone to let the insiders in the industry know no. There's a whole audience out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one that they want to hear from. Before diversity was cool, I was the only one in the room talking about, wait a minute, there's some opportunity here. And again, what Hollywood understands more than anything are the numbers. So I think with that, with pain came the progress of where we are now. And I worry about us not seizing the moment fully. Because I worry about people getting, I say this and I get in trouble, but I'll say it to you, I never want to be, I'll put myself in a situation, I never want to be put in a seat that I'm not ready to handle. I want to know as much as I can, I want to learn as much as I can. That's why I didn't direct my first movie. Darren Grant directed it because I didn't know enough. And I knew I could. I had the money. All the producers telling me, you can do it. I'm like, no, I don't know how to do this. So I learned. I stepped back. I got all the information. I learned everything I could. And then I said, okay, I'm ready. Where's that opportunity?
You are the only person that makes me feel safe.
We can run away. We'll be all right.
I love you too.
Jazzman's Blues.
Yeah.
You wrote that script, what was it, almost 20 years ago?
27 years ago.
27 years ago.
Yeah.
Why did you not make it a lot earlier than now?
Yeah, couldn't have been made.
Okay.
It couldn't have been made, number one. And also I had to go with what worked. Like I knew my audience loved Medea. I knew that, the Why Did I Get Married? I knew how to solidify my feet and my base.
So it was a business decision?
100%.
Okay.
100%, as well as timing, right? So I always wanted to do that. And when the critics would say, what is he doing with this Medea? Hello, what is this? It's just ridiculous. I was thinking, I got Jazzman in the back of my pocket. One day I'll tell the story. But I couldn't have a misstep in the business. I couldn't afford to not have a hit. I was building something and I was proving something all along the way. And it's the same way with you and Till. It's like watching what's happening in America. John Lewis, Congressman Lewis, coming to the studio opening and talking to me about, the things that were happening with voter rights and Stacey Abrams there and watching all of these moments happen at the same time as books are being banned and people are saying slavery, black people saying slavery wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? So slavery was a choice. All of those things. So all of that to say, look, she just like, I ain't going there. But all of that to say, it's incredibly important that we look at what's happening in the world, and as artists, speak to that. Like even Medea, something that's ridiculous in Medea. The last Medea movie I did for Netflix, that was about laughter. After the previous administration, the anger, the vitriol, the acrimony, the rage. I was just like, guys, I just need to do something to make us laugh. Yeah. So when you get into Till, like how much is your third? How many?
This is my third feature, yeah.
Third?
My first studio film.
Your first studio film. Third. So I know you won an award for Clemency, but to go from that to Till, right?
Yeah.
First studio film, what does that feel like?
I'm constantly asking myself that question. I had the most incredible creative experience making this film. I've had so many directors share horror stories with me.
I was going to get into those, so that's wonderful.
I didn't have any horror stories.
Wonderful, yeah.
Genuinely, I had full creative autonomy.
Yeah, wow.
And so my first studio experience was incredible. But it is a system, as you know, more than I do.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really observing the system, the machine. It has nothing to do with me. At some point, it's just, I've done my job, and now I'm seeing the machine work.
Yeah.
And that's an experience. I'm still processing it.
But that's smart, though, because unfortunately, a lot of directors and people in the business who are the creatives want to just go, okay, great, I did my part, I'm good, let's make that happen. But to watch the system, to study the system, that is so important. Because in Hollywood, a lot of folks, it's a lot of bullshit. They don't want to tell you the truth. They'll tell you, oh, that was so great.
Yes.
And I'm going, that shit sucked. Why didn't you just tell me it was so great? Right? I'm like, just tell me the truth.
Yes.
I don't need I don't need to be coddled.
Yes.
I don't need to be pampered.
There's so much passive aggressiveness.
Exactly right. And part of the reason that is because you talk about studying the system. Part of the reason that is because the very assistant that you are yelling at about the coffee or who didn't bring it to you will be running the studio in 5 years.
There we go.
So everybody's trying to be delicate because you never know who's going to be what and where. It's a complete chess game. So what I learned is treat everybody well. Don't lie, but there's a way to say it, right? But learn the system. That's what I would say to any director coming in. study the system. So that's so great.
What are some other lessons you've learned about this system, this infrastructure, this industry in your years of being in it? What are the lessons you've learned and any other words of wisdom that you would have?
What I've found more than anything is I know that there's a lot of talk about race and black and white and race and black and white, and there's definitely that. But what I found, and this is also will probably be controversial too, but I'll say it, is as I'm talking to people who are not black and about ideas and things that I wanted to do, or tell them stories about things that happened, it wasn't that they were completely uninterested or that they were racist and didn't want to do it. It's just they weren't aware and didn't know, and it's not on their radar. So to walk in a room and immediately assume everybody's racist is always going to put you on your back, on your heels. So what I learned to do, especially coming out of the South, is walk into a room and listen and hear. What are you saying? What are you not saying? What do you really not? Listen, I've run into some people who are clearly racist, but I've also run into people who just are not aware.
Yeah.
And that little bit of education has gone a long way for them and myself. So again, in studying the system and learning, I would hope that as directors and people come into the business, be open to learning and listening before you come to your conclusion.
My outside perception of you over the years is one that I see in my intention in my work, and that there's an unapologeticness in the way that you center the Black people and Black gazes in your work. And that's something that I definitely was intentional about with making Till. And I look at you and look at your career from Diary of a Mad Black Woman through Jasmine's Blues, and I'm like, this is someone who is so unapologetic in the way he makes his work, who he makes his work for, and the way that you seem to navigate this system. How have you been able to maintain that kind of unapologeticness over the years and while building success for yourself?
Listen, it goes to my audience.
Yeah.
Understanding and knowing my audience. I have a niche and I know how to super serve it.
Yeah.
So my focus was always the niche. I never worried about who didn't get it or did get it, and people would say, Tyler, you should do this or you should do that. Like, no, because the reason that I've had all these #1 movies and done so much in the box office is because I was specifically talking to an audience that I had cultivated over 30 years being on stage.
Wow.
I know them.
Yeah.
They are me. They're my family members. We have a shorthand, and I know it drove a lot of the elite or the trained crazy. But I was very specific.
Yeah.
Very specific. And even now in my career with Jazzman and other things I want to do, I'm at a place now where I can still serve my niche. I can go and do Medea, but I can also do a World War II movie. And I just feel comfortable enough now to be able to do that. But when you have an audience that is with you, that stands with you, and as a Black woman, you know this. I mean, when Black women stand with you, you can move mountains.
Yes,
I mean,
it's true.
Joe Biden would not be in the White House right now had it not been for Black women in South Carolina and around the country, but South Carolina in particular, that moved that needle at the right moment. So that's my audience. My mother, my aunt, these women who raised me, who taught me about compassion and love, who had pain, and who I, as a 5-year-old kid at my mother's apron, learning and watching all of those things, it was a masterclass for my life. So the things that I'm talking about are what plagues, bothers, lifts, supports, encourages, tears down, builds up this particular audience. So when I'm doing movies like Diary, which was so simple and on the nose and broad and out there, it was doing something for an audience that people had completely ignored, would not recognize, would not even acknowledge. And there are Black people who won't acknowledge this side of our Blackness. And so for us to see ourselves in that raw, genuine moment was so important to me. This one woman I'll never forget, she said she was gonna commit suicide. She went to get her kids, and she's gonna bring them to a hotel, and she said it's the last day on earth with them. So she said, listen, whatever you guys wanna do, we'll do. And she said, they told me they wanted to see one of your plays. So she went to the barbershop, got it on bootleg, came back to the hotel, they watched it on VHS. She said by the middle to the end of the play, she no longer wanted to die, she had hope, she wanted to live. So when I hear that, the rest of it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, you get that.
Yeah.
You get that. And even going into the understanding of what you were just saying about how you unapologetically wanted to tell the story of Till. You had to do that,
Yeah.
or it wouldn't be the brilliant piece of work that it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I felt that there was no other way, and I was very clear that, you know, I would be willing to walk because this is the way that I believed it needed.
Let me tell you something. That's the thing. To be willing to walk away. To be willing to walk. And that's a lot of times. Very early on in my career, I had an opportunity to do something that just did not sit right with me. It was a movie they wanted me to do, and just like, this doesn't feel right in my spirit. It doesn't feel right with anything that I want to do. And I walked away. And everybody thought I was crazy, agents and everything. Who do you think you are? This person is so-and-so. So I was like, doesn't feel right for me. And walking away was the best thing I could have done.
If you were to walk away now, like, who cares? It's like you've built this empire for yourself. But was there a time when you walked away when you didn't have this empire, when there was like real stakes involved? And how were you able to do that?
Yeah, just because of my audience.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity to do a television show with CBS at the time, and my agent was saying, this is how you could do, this is how it has to be done in Hollywood, this is how they're gonna do a Tyler Perry show, and Chuck Lorre's gonna do it. It's gonna be great. You're gonna have, I'm like, okay. So we get in, we start looking at notes and looking at scripts. I'm like, I don't like any of this stuff. I just wanna walk away from it. Tyler, you can't walk away from it. You signed the contract. It's like, okay, fine. So I got a call one day, Tyler, we got some really bad news for you. It's like, what is it? Chuck calls, he says, listen, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go with this little show I'm working on called 2.5 Men, so we're not gonna do the Tyler Perry show. And I was like, I did some of the best acting in my life that day. I was like, oh, I'm so disappointed that, listen, I was so happy because I left there, went to Atlanta, put up my own money and started House of Pain, and that show has over 400 episodes now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you made Jazzman's Blues. You were saying that you're about to make a World War II movie, a movie set during World War II. And so it's very different than like the Medea franchise. And do you think that the audience that you've so brilliantly cultivated is going to follow you into what seems like this next evolution of your filmmaking career?
You know, I think for the most part, like if you look at the success of Jazzman, they did. Okay. However, I'm not leaving, you know, what I know. I'm not leaving Medea. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving the Why Did I Get Marrieds of it all. I'm not leaving the Fall from Grace, the thrillers. I want to tell all those kinds of stories, and I think that I've gotten to a place where I've earned that moment to be able to do that. So so that's exactly what I want to do. And for you in this, you know, as you think about Till, what are you thinking about is next? Like, how do you make that decision? I
am not interested in another serious drama.
Yeah.
I want to do something different every single time. I'd love to do something I'd love to do a rom-com. I'd love to do something that is very fast-paced and high energy and deliciously weird and offbeat. I'd love to do a thriller. I'd love to go into different genres. I want to be a little scared.
Yeah,
you know, the fear holds me accountable to do my best, and something that I've never done before. And so I'm thankful that the projects I'm circling now and thinking about now are very different than anything I've done.
The fear is healthy.
Fear's healthy.
Were you afraid until?
I had deep anxiety beforehand because of the significance of the story and the weight of it and the responsibility of it. And so I had that going into it, and then I just kind of let it all go. And
because you're not thinking about, like when you have, for me, as I think about you holding on to something like that, you're not thinking about critics, you're not thinking about the studio, but the ancestors.
Exactly.
And having the real story of this kid in your hands.
Exactly. And doing service to our ancestors and the legacies that are a part of this story, and just wanting to get it right, you know. And Danielle Deadweiler, I mean, we've had many conversations about the work we're doing being our service to our ancestors. And so Danielle Deadweiler.
The first thing I noticed when I became a mother was that my hands were busy all the time. My hand knew him with my eyes closed, just like I know his laughter in a crowded room. It's the same thing when you know all of someone.
Listen,
Danielle Deadweiler.
The day I came to visit, I don't know what scene you guys were shooting because I didn't stay very long because I didn't want to feel like I was in the way. But when she came down the stairs, this is the kind of actress she is. When she came down the stairs, she was carrying the weight of Emmett down the stairs, and she smiled at me. but her eyes and the sadness, that is the kind of actress you want to work with, that not only understands the assignment, but falls so deeply into it that even if they're not saying a word, you know that they're carrying it throughout the whole film.
And she gives so much to every role. And I want to talk about, do you remember the first time you met her, the first time you worked with her? What was your experience working with her on the haves and have-nots?
My experience with her was the same experience I had with Viola Davis on one of the Medea movies. It was so ridiculous. So I hired this actress. I see the audition. I was like, wow, she's great. Bring her in. So we were shooting the scene, and after the scene was over, I walk up to her like, oh my God, who are you? Like, who are you? I literally walked up to Viola Davis going, nobody hadn't known her name. I hadn't seen her do anything. I'm like, who are you? She's like, I'm like, you are brilliant. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing with this Medea movie, right? But it was the same with Danielle. Like, you know, she's playing this drug addict, and she's got the dialect, and she's got the fidgeting. I mean, she's into it. I'm going, who are you? I never asked her that. I'm like, who are you? There's something very, very special about you. And seeing the gears that she has, I've seen her shift from that crazy over-the-top character to another girlfriend she was playing on another show, and then to Till, Mamie, and holding it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I saw her audition tape, I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
She gives everything, whether it's a guest role in an or it was incredible.
They have a different set of rules down in Mississippi. You have to be extra careful.
I know.
Bo, be small.
Like this?
But as a director, what was that like for you? Because I love directing people. Like,
I love directing. I love working with actors. I love, with Danielle, we spent months before shooting going through every single emotional beat and nuance in the script. I love doing that kind of work with actors and really kind of getting underneath and in between the words and figuring that out. And I try to do that as much as possible with all the actors, even if you're in one scene or you're the lead in the film. And diving deep into the research, and I provided a research archive for every single cast and crew member so they can dive into that. And so I love two-person scenes. So like the scene between Mamie and the uncle at the riverbank, it was so fun just digging into that. It was just that beat work, and it helps when you have brilliant actors like John Douglas and Danielle and et cetera, and Whoopi and everybody.
I can say the same thing about Joshua Boone and Soleil Pfeiffer and Jazzman. They're new faces.
Yes, I'm not familiar with their work.
New faces, hadn't done much. This is her very first film. And he's done a few independent things here and there, but he hadn't done much. But I was looking for that crop of actors that did A Soldier Story years ago. You know, that was Howard Rollins and Denzel Washington, Adolph Caesar. That group of actors, I was like, where are they? Where's that level of talent? Because I when I first wrote Jasmine, I wanted to play the role, in 1995, but I aged out for sure. So in trying to find them, I went to Broadway. And what I found is that there is a group, a clique, that if you find one, they'll tell you, oh, you need to see this person, or you need to see that person. Because even Austin, you're looking at Austin Scott and Amir Vaughn and Milana Jackson, the level of talent that they brought. I love breaking new faces because Viola Davis was a new face. Idris Elba was a new face.
You did that.
I love breaking new faces.
A lot of people. A lot of people, Tyler. A lot. I mean, So I went back and rewatched your catalog over the last month or two because I knew you broke a lot of people in, but just seeing people and knowing what we know now. How'd you do that?
I just like with Viola, I'm like, there's something special there. And I'm hoping that is the same thing for Soleil and Austin and Joshua and Milana, and also for Danielle to that this industry will go, that person's special.
Yes.
Because unfortunately what happens is you haven't dealt with this yet with studios, and thank God I haven't dealt with it either, but when it does come up, people are like, well, we want to get this person. I'm like, well, that person has been in every movie like this over and over again. Because there's a little group of 5 or 6 black actors that the studios want you to hire. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to go with a new face. It's harder on me because I have to work really harder in promotions because it's difficult for them to book sofas and couches and shows. But giving people the opportunity to see a new face and to see this incredible talent. The first thing it does, it gives them the opportunity to not have to get over the superstar of that person.
Yeah.
You can just settle into like, oh, this is Bayou.
Yeah.
Or this is Mamie. Yeah, I can always tell if how good the actor is going to be by the questions that they ask. And you know, little things like, you know, when I feel like this happened to her at 9. And I'm like, why 9? Because of this line and that line and that line. I'm thinking, okay, you got it. And when we get into the lines and what's in between the lines, that for me, an actor who gets that, I'm like, okay, you've got it.
What do you look for when you cast?
Just the hunger, number one, and the talent, right?
Yeah.
But the hunger, because the hunger, I know there are a lot of people who hunger who can't act, right? but if you've got the hunger first, and then the talent is there, it's the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit. How about you?
I look for, can you tell a story with just your eyes? Can you hold and command a screen without saying a word? You know, and I think we both agree Danielle Deadweiler does that times 100, you know. And also, do they ask the right questions? Are they willing to really make themselves vulnerable to this role?
Which goes to the hunger.
Goes to
because
the hunger.
if you have the hunger for it, you can step out of yourself and let the character come through you.
Yeah.
And when an actor does that, that's when you know they're commanding the screen, they're holding the moment. And what do they look like when they're not saying a word?
Yes.
And even in auditions, when I'm looking at auditions and the off-camera lines are being read, I'm watching them to see what they're doing. Are you still in? Are you still carrying it? Do you still feel the character? Yeah.
Does the Tyler Perry empire, I guess you could say, make it easier or more difficult to cast your films or to get the actors or the talent that you?
It became more difficult because, you know, Jasmine was really difficult to cast in the beginning because everybody thought Medea was going to pop from behind a tree. I'm just like,
really?
I'm like, guys, you know, I have one actor said to me, I only want to do quality stuff. I'm just like, okay, I get it. God bless you.
Okay.
You know, you're going to do something else, as if I don't know, you know, how to work with hire a great DP and find great sets and hire the best in the business to do the costume and wardrobe and set dressing and set decorating, right?
Yeah.
So all of that is on display in Jazzman because that's what it required, right? Medea does not require what Jazzman required, right? or Till. So there's a level of having people understand, guys, I'm not bringing you in here to do a Medea movie.
You know the film you're making.
I know what I'm making here. Yeah.
The cinematography in Jazzman's Blues is beautiful. Can you talk about who your DP is, how you found your DP, and what's your process like when working with the DP and thinking about shots and lighting and all of that?
Brett Pollock, who hadn't done much at the time, but there was something about him that's like this. I saw some clips of a movie he had done, a World War II movie. I said, this guy's got it. And I don't know if he had all the tools he needed then. And I, you know, bring them into my world, and it's like, okay, here's how I like to shoot. I don't want to shoot with one camera unless you just insist that it's one shot. But I love to have both cameras across so that when actors are in scenes together, they are giving each other all of it because they know they're both on. So I'm like, can you cross light? He said, yes, I can make it look beautiful. I said, you're my guy. And you know, when I started talking about the sets and what I saw and how I wanted this shot or that shot, he just was like, I got it.
Wow.
And from the time we turned on the monitor, I was like, I had chills. This guy is my guy.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and so was Till. Till was beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautifully shot.
Thank you. My cinematographer, Bobby Bukowski, was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. My very first kind of requirement was the lighting of black skin.
That's always the thing.
It's always the thing.
Yeah.
It's always the thing.
Because we see a lot of movies where the cinematographer does not know how to light black skin.
Exactly.
Especially if there's a white person in the scene.
Exactly.
White person looks beautiful and a black person looks
Exactly.
dark, off color, pasty.
Yes. And I wanted a very bright and rich and vibrant color palette for Till. I really wanted the colors to pop and the skin to pop and to just reflect a beauty about us and a vibrancy about us that can never die in spite of, you know, the sadness and the pain of the story. And
which I found is an interesting choice because of the sadness and the pain of the story. I was moved at how beautiful it was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was that was the first thing that Bobby and I talked about, and my production designer and my costume designer. And your Jasmine's Blues also has beautiful production design.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do I, do I, do I, do I, do I, do I?
Was your process in making Jasmine's Blues, your creative process, was that similar or different than previous films that you made?
A lot of the things that I did in the other films, I used in this. But also, I felt like this is my first time directing because it's
Really?
it's my first time enjoying directing.
Really?
I enjoyed every moment. I never.
What do you mean?
No, I everything has always felt like work. Medea, I'm in costume. I feel like work. Why did I get married? I'm character. It all felt like work. Jazzman, I was just there to direct and be in the space, and I loved every minute of it. And I think that's why the film turned out to be what it was. I felt like it's my first time directing.
Really?
Yeah.
So would you say, did you enjoy making your previous films, or?
I enjoyed what the audience would get out of it, but going through the process of it all, it felt like I was just at a job.
Wow.
Jazzman was the first time I had a labor of love, and I'm feeling that in this one I'm working on now, that love, and I want to feel that on every film.
My mind is blown hearing you say that. How does that feel for you? Like, I'm actually really happy for you. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. It feels great because I love it.
Wow.
I love it. I love getting into lenses and shots and where's the sun at this time and how do I get this angle to look a certain way. If you see my crew, if you met my crew, we are all a group of underdogs who feel very strongly that we all had something to prove. Wow. So when I came into directing, part of the frustration with my first film and television is the amount of time everything took and the amount of waste. But when you're the one that's writing the check for everything, you watch every moment. And I also know everybody's job. I can do grip, I can do electric. I've been through everybody's job, so I know what you need. So having that understanding, knowing exactly what I need, knowing exactly what I want to see, not having 50 people in my ear telling me do this, do that, do this, do that, knowing exactly what I want, it streamlines the time.
Where does Tyler Perry, the filmmaker, go from here?
I'll let you answer that first. And then where do you go from here? Where do you go from here?
I'm thinking about building my filmography. I don't think about just the individual film. I think about what is the legacy that I want to leave behind. And I see myself continuing to explore bigger and bigger worlds and bigger and bigger stories. I want to really surprise people and keep, and surprise myself.
Yeah.
I never want to lose that passion and joy for the work, or that fear for the work. And so that's why I'm particularly excited to hear what you're saying about, like, you felt like this is your first time film that. And so where do you go from here? Where does Tyler Perry, the filmmaker, go from here, and Tyler Perry, the businessman? And is it the same?
Well, first of all, I have no doubt that you're going to do phenomenal things, and I think that whatever you want to do it. Whatever you want to do it. And knowing that you're not afraid to walk away, the sky's the limit for you.
Thank you.
But for me, as a filmmaker, I want us to explore all those films that I never got a chance to do, like this World War II film.
Yeah.
I have a zombie movie I want to do. I got big action, sci-fi. I want to play in all of those different genres now, because I feel like I built what I needed to build. Every time I pull into those gates, I'm seeing more. You talk about diversity. I'm seeing more people of color get opportunities that have never happened in this town. I'm probably, we can stack them up side by side, each studio, and I'm probably outrunning them with diversity probably by 1,000 to 1, right? So at this point, that's the only reason to work this hard, to keep going, is for the people that are coming up through those gates, meeting people like you, seeing this hope for you and the dreams for you, seeing all these people, former prisoners who work for me, being grip and electric, seeing those people's lives change. That's the reason to keep going and let that be the legacy.
My last question for you.
Okay.
This might seem odd, but I'm really, I've been on my own personal journey in terms of my joy and my happiness and my peace, especially as I navigate this industry. Are you in a place of joy and peace with yourself within this industry?
Yes, finally. I don't feel like I'm running.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm trying to keep up. I don't feel like my business was growing so fast, so I always felt like my feet were 1,000 miles an hour. Now I feel like it's finally there. I'm in place. I can pace it. I've handed off two of my TV shows to different directors. I'm bringing in different writers now and handing things off, and it feels really good to be able to have established it, set it, made it solid, and now everybody else gets their chance.
There we go.
There we go. This was awesome. This was awesome.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is great. This is great.